else you need of me right now?
No. Ooh. No. Nothing. My camera. She's already moved. That's awesome.
Test 1, 2. Selena, can you hear me? Testing. All right, we'll get started probably in about 10 minutes. If you're in the Zoom or the Google Hangouts, if you could just type in the chat if you can hear me, just so I know that the audio is working for everybody. Cool, thank you. All right. Hopefully you guys are ready in the next 5 or 6 minutes, and we'll get started. We got people jumping in from both, so we're gonna be going over, and you guys will be able to see the data collection side of everything. So when we start, that's where we're headed. Hi, Emily. All right, and if there's anybody who has any questions from yesterday or whatnot, feel free to type them in, and I can answer a couple questions while we're waiting to get started. Or if anybody tried anything over the last 2 days and felt like they got somewhere and so Denise asked if she sent out a Google form, if she can reply to a student on a Google form. If you're doing it as the non-login style, so they're just putting their information on the form, unless you have them put an email in or something, there's no real way to respond back to them. If you're using it in Google Classroom and such like that, there is a way you can communicate right with them, sending them comments back on that. But if you're not using one of the LMSs like Schoology or Google Classroom, it's not easy to respond unless you have them put in their email address. And for those that weren't on the workshops for the last 2 days, those videos are up on YouTube. Yesterday's took a little longer because I wanted to clean the audio up so it didn't sound like I was talking through a cell phone or something. So today's will go smoother. They'll be up quicker, and we'll get through that. And an email I got from somebody yesterday was they asked if they can share this stuff out with others or whatnot. Yeah, please share the workshops out, share the information out. Send the videos to whoever you want. They can link to it. You can link to it. Send them the slideshows. Share it out. Share it out. Share it out. Share it out. Because there are some that aren't able to be on during this time frame. I got an email from a handful of people in Australia that were asking, and so they've watched the videos later. So yeah, share it out. And if they have questions, yeah, I mean, my email and stuff shows up in the videos. So no problems with that. We're gonna give it about 3 more minutes to get started, just to let people, jump in. And today we're gonna build on what we've been working on the last 2 days, the things I've shown you. I'm gonna show you a little more in depth because we need to know, how to grade, what to do with the data and stuff like that. So we'll go through that. And similar to yesterday, I will walk you guys through how to do several of the things and not just show you a finished one, just because it's valuable to see it actually being created in front of you, so you have an idea and you can go back and replay it over and over again, to make sure you know how to create and how to grade and how to add that stuff. All right, so it looks like we'll get started. And again, people will jump in as they can and if they have time. There were several that emailed saying they have meetings and stuff like that. So they aren't necessarily going to be joining us right at the beginning, which is fine. So what we're going to do today, going through the student cognitive understanding, how to handle the data, how to collect the data, how to grade things. Again, we went through the background. People know that. If you've been to doing the other two, I'm not going to touch base on that. So kind of the focus of today, we're going to focus on, providing you guys getting the instruction on how to grade assignments and those content check-ins that we created, making the connections between the grading on, the data side and on the software side, options to respond to your students and parents through the LMS systems. Again, those non-logins, we really don't have that option. So that's more of a giving stuff out and hopefully they respond. And then we'll talk briefly at the end about the importance of assessing, why we're collecting it, what it means as physical educators for us to take care of that stuff and keep track of it. So as we've gone through the last 2 days, keep it simple, keep it simple, keep it short and simple. Okay. Everybody is overwhelmed. People have been having meetings with their schools. Schools are changing policies. Schools are setting up new policies. Parents are figuring it out. Schools are now starting to give out device kits. I know that my district has opened up 3 sites where parents and families that don't have access to broadband internet or high-speed internet, they're getting hotspots, stuff like that. There are some that they're sharing throughout the neighborhoods. So everything we do is keep it simple, especially with the data collection today. We're going to go over the Google and the Google Classroom and grading, and then we're going to go over the Schoology grading as well, because that seems to be most of the platforms that everybody is using. Again, if you have questions about other platforms, put it in the chat. If you have a question as things come up, put it in the chats. It makes it easier for me just to keep answering those as we go. So we're going to go from here, kind of how we're going through part one. We're going to do the non-login style. Again, you can follow along or you can watch. I'm going to take you all the way through the grading side of it, using Sheets, Flubaroo, and then looking at the grading in Quizizz and how to make sure we're looking at those reports. Part two, we're going to go over the login style. So we are going to do Google Classroom using a form as a quiz, and how to turn it into quizzes to get grading on it. And then talking about responding parents, kind of what you should be looking for, and again, the value at the end. And the tiny URL link here, again, that's going to show up on all the slides. If you didn't get it yesterday or you haven't used it yet, all the samples of things I use, this is where it is. So you guys have access. Everything I've created, everything I've been using, I put in there. So you have it in one place. Makes it nice and easy. So you can go back and click through the samples and see what it is. So non-login style grading is, again, for the mostly the elementary, or if you're using Google Forms, things that they're not having to log in. It's going to be, you've kids taking the forms or the questions on one device that they're sharing. You've set it up so their form has to take their name, has to take their grade, their teacher, through all that stuff we went through yesterday on setting up that Google Forms for a non-login style. Again, that can be used at the high school, secondary level as well if they're not if you're not using an LMS platform. And so with that, what we end up using is we use what's called an extension or an add-on for Google, and that's Flubaroo is what we're going to be using. I'm going to walk you through how to use it and everything. We're going to do it today. So this tiny URL will be the form we're going to use. So I have a real quick strength assessment form that has a couple of questions. And what I want you to do, again, I'm not walking you through how to make the form. We did that yesterday. So what I would like, if we can get, you can either scan that with your mobile device or go to this tiny URL. But if we can get 4 or 5 people to at least pull it up to get ready to answer it, it'll help with what we're doing. So again, so you guys can see the live data being created. Don't start answering the questions yet. Just when I bring this back up, if you can, we get 2 or 3 people to answer it, it will give us data so you guys can see. So in a non-login style, when we go through our questions, all the questions are set. I've created the form. The very first thing after you create the form, okay, you open it up to view the form, you make sure it works. With Flubaroo, the thing you need to do is you need to make an answer key. So you need to have an answer that's all the right answers. Okay, so easiest thing to do is go through, name it, answer key. You can pick the things that, like this class hour teacher, that doesn't involve a grade. Will be able to mark those as non-grading questions. Word questions like this, you're going to have to, use your own judgment when you're grading them. It's going to be a word problem, so they're going to say it. Okay, again, you're going through, you're giving the right answers. Okay, and again, I'm not necessarily picking the right answers, but as you go through, okay, you want to make sure you're picking the right answers, you're making sure you're giving everything. And again, this was for my high school stuff, so there was There was questions that had to do, down here are the effective questions, so those aren't really going to matter for our answer key. So I've answered it. I now have a response. So from responses, I'm going to open it as a spreadsheet. Okay. As I open it as a spreadsheet, it's going to ask to create the new, because I haven't done anything with it yet. So I'm going to create the new spreadsheet. Okay, so I have my very first answer is the answer key. I'm using it before I've given it to students. So now, again, if I can have a couple people go through and answer this, so use either the tiny URL or scan the QR code, answer it to the best of your ability. We're going to set up the next part while you're answering those questions. So I only need 2 or 3 people to answer them. So here in the spreadsheet, in the form, in the results we have here, up here at the title bar, it's add-ons. Okay, now some districts push add-ons out. Some give you the permission as a teacher to get your own add-ons. I'm going to go down here to where it says get add-on, select get add-on, and it's going to bring up all the different types of add-ons that are available within the Google marketplace that works with Sheets. Now, Flubaroo is a, used a lot as an add-on, so it's right here, usually near the top. Okay, Flubaroo. We're going to click on it. Okay, now the domain install, that's something that districts worry about. You're going to do an individual install. Okay, so you're just going to click on the install. You're only going to have to do this once. Again, it's asking your permission. You're only going to do this once. It needs to go through. It needs to make sure you're using your right account. If you have multiple accounts logged in, it shows you what it's talking about. Do you trust Flubaroo? Well, as much as I can trust, something being used. So it's going to install it on the sheets. Okay, and then it's going to show you where it comes up if you're using apps, and here it says in Google Sheets. See, it shows it's going to be in the add-ons. So we're done with that. We close it out. We check our add-ons, and Flubaroo is now installed. Again, you're only going to have to do this once, because then Flubaroo will be installed across all your sheets. And I want to enable Flubaroo for this sheet. Okay, good. We got somebody who answered questions. Okay, so it's going to say Flubaroo has now been enabled. There is instructions. You click to see how to start grading. So it'll bring up their website. It goes through their 3-minute demo. So if you want to see as it goes, it does show. Okay, and what we're going to do, okay, their notification, their pop-up. We go back to add-ons. Flubaroo has now accessed. Okay, different info, it's given us the ability to use it here. Okay, so we'll wait for one more result to come in. It's always easier, to show when you have 2. And if you have a kid that gives better answers, that's fine. You can, pick them, but we're going to use the answer key. And so as I go through and decide to grade the assignment, the nice thing is once it grades it, kids can still submit and you can have it regrade and regrade. So if you have one class do it one day and then a new class does it the next day, you don't have to set all this up again. You can just tell it to regrade it and it will do the ones that haven't been graded yet. Okay, it will grade the ones that are ungraded. So in this grading step 1, it's asking you to identify different things. So if you see the first question, first name identifies the student, okay? Second name, third identifies the student. I don't need that to be graded. Scarecrow lift, well, I know that's a typed one, okay? It's going to be, I can either skip it or I'm going to grade it by hand, means I'm going to go back and read it and apply a grade. Okay, so I'm going to pick grade by hand. Hand grip is a normal. I can set the points. Okay, so you've got normal grading, set the points, points. Where does the jerk start from? Way to the bar, normal grading. Okay, here, normal, I'm going to grade that one by hand because it's a question. There's a normal grading. Okay, normal grading, go through. These last three, we're going to skip because those are effective. They don't need a grade on those. So those were my effective questions. I'm not going to grade those. So I'm going to hit continue. What it's going to do now is it's going to ask me to pick from the current list of submissions, which one is the answer key to grade against. I'm going to select my answer key. One, it's always easier to do it first. This is why you do it before. Otherwise, if kids answer it, you have to scroll through all of the submissions to find your answer. So it's always good to do your answer key right away. Okay, we're going to hit continue. Now it's grading the assignment. That's all I had to do. And what it has done now, it is now, as it pops up, it's going to say grades have been created. You can do it again. It's going to highlight low scoring questions. Okay, so now I have total points earned from the first, where they got wrong, what they got right, and it gives all of this information. Okay, it also shows average points. It gives you that ability. But here is the cool thing. Down here at the bottom, it gave it as a grade tab, as a new sheet. So here's all the original results. See, we got another one. So now I can go back, looking at my original results. I go to my add-ons. Flubaroo, I tell it to regrade the assignment. We've already said everything. Do I want to update my grade sheet? Yes. Okay. It's ready. It's going to go through. Everything's the same. Okay. Double checking to make sure it's got the right answers it's going on. And now we have two sets of questions, two sets of results. And now it's showing those results. So if I need to transfer the grade points into something else, I can do it right there. There's the names. I can go through, put them in that class order. And now I have all the grades. Okay, so now I can easily go to PowerSchool or my grade book, and I can give them based on this. And if they use the same name, it shows how many times they submitted. If it has more stuff, the email, the grade is if the email was a question. So that could, Denise, that's a new update in Flubaroo. So if you have the email address as a question and it sees it, it could then potentially email the grade there. I don't use that function because all my elementary kids, they don't have email because they're under 13. The district decided to shut that part off. So I can't email the stuff to the kids. I can post it, I can share it, I can let them know. But that's what we've got going there. That is Flubaroo, start to finish on a Google form. Between Google Form and Google Sheets, that's Flubaroo all the way through. Okay. So the account doesn't need to be set up with Flubaroo first because it's using your Google account and it's using from your Google Sheets. So if you have access to Google Sheets, you have access to add add-ons. You have the ability to add Flubaroo. Flubaroo does not ask for anything other than it's going to your account and part of your Google background. So you don't need to set up an account for Flubaroo. It's just adding on to Google Sheets. So that was a good question though, because some people aren't using Google and or are using Google for some things and not others. So that's how the setup is. Okay, so Google and Flubaroo, again, great for your non-login style. Okay, and it's very user friendly. It's very, simplistic in step 1, step 2, step 3. It walks you through. It's not overwhelming, and the fact that you can redo it over and over again on the same file helps when you're using that one form. So that's way a way to help that be successful. Now, if you're setting it up again on a form that has all of those questions from your different grades, you know, when it picks score this, score that, score this, you can change what you want scored. Okay, so there's that. With Quizizz, so yesterday, remember that was our video, or not our video game, but our style where we had them play the game and go through, and we want to make sure that we take those same accounts and those results. So in Quizizz, after you've given the quiz and the kids have taken it, they did it as the homework, you can go into reports. And in reports, one, you see the total number of players and where percentages were at. Okay, so here's one that was assigned, and this was for first graders, and so they, you know, I got to see the results. Again, emailing to parents, that means that, you know, if you know their parent email or whatever, you can send it that way. However, here I can look at questions, so I know. Again, I can look at the overview, so I can just look at which question was the most difficult for kids, what, you know, where they had problems, how long, because some of us, we know our kids, some of our kids will go through it as fast as possible. Well, if they got 3 seconds to get it right, but then they took 6 seconds, got it wrong, it gives you more to use. So you can download this, and it will just be an Excel sheet. So you have that data as mine is going through. So now I have the question, I have the kids across the top. Okay, so again, that's one of those things when you have the kids make their game player name something that you can recognize, or you have a list of superheroes and stuff. I know which kid did it, and I can look at the questions and go. Now, some of these, the questions aren't shown because this one had pictures. So within the questions, you know, they were just pictures. See, this one says, you know, what is the sound? What's it start with? So it was an A, apple. So you're gonna, you know, they're gonna have to go through when you have questions that have words and such like that. So if we look at the nutrition groups here, I bring up the same results. I now have, you know, which food group, and they have to pick, and I actually have answers to it. Again, these have pictures in them. There's the 5 group represented. So you can, I mean, you can get a lot of information on what your kids know. And now you have the data. If you want to just take the score, you know, you can look at the overall scores. For those who like data all sorts of different ways, you can go here and just go, okay, there's their score. There's the number they got right. If it was out of 25, you know, this one was this was a bigger one. So there's 51 questions. So they got 32 out of 51. That's what I would put in the grade book. Okay. Or by percentages. So you have the ability here to look at those reports. So in Quizizz, that's where the report look is. That's where you get those informations. Again, this is still the non-login style grading. Okay, this is for those who, our kids aren't, you know, we don't have the ability. We've got to have them use one device. Logins are not an option. This is the easiest way to start it, and a simple step-by-step to start. Okay, so from there, I've also, in this slideshow, when you guys get it, here's the Flubaroo, the steps in order. Okay, it goes through, and that's how you use it. Okay, also, again, you go to Flubaroo, they have their instruction there. So there's the Flubaroo instructions. Hey, login style. Now, again, real quick in the chat, can you just post if your district has decided if you're using Google Classroom or Schoology? Just so I know how many people I have in both rooms that are using one of those two. Okay, Google Classroom, Google Classroom, Google Classroom. Wow, everybody in Zoom seems to be rocking Google Classroom. Most people in Google Hangouts is Google Classroom. Okay, there's a Schoology. Good. Joel will make sure. I'm going to show both because, again, my district wants us to use Schoology, and I like using Google for stuff. So I'm going to show both. We're going to go through. We're going to do all the way to a student being graded on both of them. So we've got the ability to do that. So we're going to start with Google Classroom real quick. And we're focusing on Google Classroom with the form. Okay, so Google Classroom with a form, and it does change slightly on the setup. Because they have to log in, you have the ability to set some different parameters, which means that the Google form will immediately go right to the grade book and take care of everything, so you're not having to copy things back and forth. Okay, so it immediately is going to jump. So in Google Classroom, when we're setting up a quiz, there are a couple of things that need to be changed from before. Because we want Google Forms and Google Classroom to talk together, there are some steps that we have to change on the Google form. So I'm in my classes. Okay, I'm going to post. I'm going to create a new daily check-in. So daily check-in 4. We're going to use fill out the form, and I'm going to create a brand new form because I want you guys to make sure you see what needs to happen here with the form. Okay, because they have logged in, we don't need to worry about the name. But when in our settings, so I'm starting up here in settings, okay, I need to go over to the quiz tab. Okay, so the quiz tab right here, I want to make this a quiz. So this will now mean when I make a question, I can add a point value to it. Now back in general, I need to limit the one response, and I need it to collect the email because that's what Google Classroom is looking at. Okay, I also want to restrict it just to kids within my domain, within my Google Classroom, so I'm going to restrict it. Okay, so if you look on here, we have the things we need to make sure that are listed, that are set. Okay, so we can have them if they want the receipt of their responses, so they can say, well, this is how I answered it. It's always better to, be able to give the students the ability there. I'm going to save those settings. Okay, I put the settings here because sometimes that is something that we get setting everything up and we forget that there's another part to it. It happens. All of a sudden something doesn't work. This happens. Now, when you're doing this, as a teacher, however, you will not necessarily be able to see the outcome of the form because you are not a student in your classroom. So practicing Google Forms and then remembering to set this stuff up will help. So daily check-in 4, just so I can use it for others. Okay, first question, I don't need their name anymore. I don't need, their name or their classroom or any of that because it's going to be assigned within the Google Classroom. So you can give them here. It saw that I'm counting out. I'm going to add all of the answers. Okay, now I make the question required, and here down in the bottom left, it says answer key. You click on that. I want to make it worth 1 point, and this is the right answer. Okay, It then shows I'm going to make a new question. Okay, I want it to be a checkbox. And I'm going to, play outside. I don't want to use a yes or no. I'm going to use some, kinda, a little, if I spell, all day, not at all. Okay, again, required answer key. Any one of those is a right answer. Okay. And so we'll go through. Any one of those is the right answer. So they're going to get 1 point. Now I want them to do an exercise. So we're going to I want to use one of my motions. I want them to use a jump lunge. So I'm going to upload my animated GIF because, again, that's going to be a smaller file. It's going to be easier for devices to handle. It's playing on a constant loop. So the animated GIF allows me the ability to have things that are moving without having to hit a play or stop or pause or link out to another video. Okay, so as it's uploading the picture, we're going to do two different things here because I'm also going to, in the question, I want them to do it for 30 seconds. Now, right now, I have no real way to do that. I'm going to show you how we can do that. Here's our jump lunge. Okay. How many did you do in 30 seconds? Okay, it wanted to do a number validation. I want to give them a range, 10 to 20, 20 to 30, 30 to 40, 40 plus. Now here's the thing. I'm putting a time and I'm like, okay, I want to make sure that they use 30 seconds. Again, using the animated GIF, if you type in 30-second animated GIF into Google, okay, it will come up with hundreds of animated GIFs that have already been created as a picture file. So you can actually assign a time to their exercises. So now there's the 30-second clock. Okay. Required answer key again. Any one of those is the correct answer. I now have, let's make sure I give it points. I have now given 3 points. Okay. So checking to make sure, 1 point, 1 point. There's the jump lunge. There's the question. That's all I need. I can view it to see what it looks like. It's wanting my email. I can go through it, but I can see now the kids have their own timer, because if they're doing something in here, wanting to make sure you have a timer or something to watch, it helps. It helps. Okay, so daily check-in for. In our classroom, which this is now, this form is the daily check-in form. I'm assigning it to the class. I've, decided it's due tomorrow. Okay, and it's a daily check-in, so I want it to be there. Everything's still there. I hit assign. Now, there's the daily check-in for in the classwork. Our student, okay, goes to their classwork. As it refreshes, Daily Classroom 4 in the stream. It's the first thing on the stream. It shows I've posted a new assignment right here. Classwork, it also shows it there. I pick it. Now, I can view assignment or I can click right on the form. If you look here right now, it says assigned. So I want to see the assignment as, from my side as a student. I'm going to click on it. Again, up here in the corner, it says assigned. I click on it. It knows that it's using my email. I'm going to answer the questions. I did 30 or more. I can choose to have it send me my answers. I'm going to submit. I have done. I can see my score. Well, darn, I didn't get those ones right. Okay. But now, when I go back to the classroom, it says turned in. Okay. It has turned in the assignment. I'm done. I don't have to mark anything. I'm done. So from the student side, it took care of all of that. Okay. Colleen, who just came in, you can mute your mic, please. Thank you. So from the teacher point of view, when I look at that assignment and I want to view the assignment, I'm looking at the grade book. One student has turned it in. Okay. Now I can tell it from here. Okay. I can look at it. It's turned it in. I click on it. It's going to just show me. So I want to see results. Okay. It makes sure that the responses are there. It's now giving me those insights on the student. Okay. It's showing where they are. So it's giving me the same results. And as, my menu go back up. Okay. I can now it shows, so I can look at it, but I can also, let's make sure that we have it saved. Oh, yes, there it is. Good. So there was the one. So right now it's marked at 100 points. And I'll show in the setting again. Down here, see it says grade importing. This is important. You click grade importing. It now makes your grades from the quiz go into the grade book. So that grade importing needs to be turned on. I hit save. I now go refresh. I'm going to see student work. Over here, I can now import the grade. So once we've applied that, over here, I can import the grades directly from. Do you want to import the grades as an overwrite? I'm going to go yes, import the grade. And now they got 1 out of 3 points. Okay, because that's how they scored on there. I can click on them. I go return. It's going to return it to them. 1 has been graded. The student now sees it as graded up here in the corner. Okay. So they can then look at, they can look and see what it was. Now with this question 2 was on me. If I wanted any one of those answers to be right, it should have been a multiple choice with all the answers correct instead of a multiple select. So that's, one of those things looking as a teacher going, okay, I didn't use the right type of question. But we've got the grade, We go through, they've been graded, that's taken care of. All right, so there it's been graded, everything's been doing. More people, more kids have submitted, I can import the grades again. All right, so it's looking at those as a way to import the grades. So that's using Google Forms to grade and using Google Classroom to import the grades to the grade book. Okay. So again, that's how I can use it as a check-in and call it good. Making sure when I do that assignment as the teacher, oh, we don't want the form up, we want the assignment. Sorry about that. In the instructions, we get the grade importing, so then we can import the grades. Again, this is simple layout. Keeping it simple, focusing it on a simple. Colleen, yes, it's all recorded. It will be posted to YouTube like the last two. So anything that you missed at the beginning will be there. Okay, so that's doing your daily check-in and grading. Again, works with any of your different content. So you're wanting students to create a flyer or a poster, or you want them to put their own workout document together. It's going to work the same way for grading. So if we're going to create, and this is set especially for secondary. So I want you, if the assignment is to create a self-workout plan, a visual. Now, an example of this would be for those who have seen stuff being posted up, dareby.com. Oh, that's, hold on. There we go. If I spell it right. Dareby.com. This is a free platform. Okay, everything they create is free. The project has been going on for years. They started first by doing a bunch of superhero movie connections, video game connections. They have programs. All of these are free. They give you everything that's needed. I mean, even on days, you can have kids go and it will actually have a timer. It gives them that. You mark that this was this day, I did it that day. I mean, there's a lot kids can do. What I did at the secondary level is I would have kids make these forms. So if I want to use that as the example, I can, just use the image, or I can download the PDF. So I'm not going to use one out of the programs. Let's just use a workout one. So here for the, the ones that want the glory muscles and whatnot, which is fine. They're working on those physique muscles. I can download that PDF, and in my class, I would add the file as the example. Okay, they can view this file. And I can create, and I would do this in slides, because for those who use Publisher or want kids to be able to input stuff, slides works better than docs. So I would use slides. And I want it to be a normal paper size. So under page setup, I'm going to change it to custom, and I'm going to make it 8.5 by 11. They now have a piece of paper. So I would give them the instructions on this. Now, every kid is going to get their own example of this. So in most cases, most kids have gone through, they know how to import their own pictures. So that's all I would put on for the assignment. Those two, make sure you make a copy for each student so they each get their own. Okay, and the due date, it's due tomorrow. You got to make me the workout sheet by tomorrow. I assign it. I go over to our kids. Okay. We check classroom. There's the self workout plan. As the student, okay, here's my example. So I know I can open up and I can look at the example. Okay, wants me to create that. There's mine up here in the corner. There is my work. So I'm going to open my version. So if it's going to say their name up here and then self work. So I'm going to just, search the web. Okay. I'm going to add, push-ups. Okay, so I'm adding my workout. I've done my workout. It's saved. We're good. Okay, so I've closed it now. As the student, they're going to press turn in. It's going to submit that. Okay, as the teacher, go to that class, go to that. One has been turned in. I need to look at theirs. It allows me to open and look at theirs. I'm looking. The instructions were 6 images. They've got 2, and they don't add the reps and the sets. So missing 4 exercises and rep set. So right now their grade is 20 out of 100. I post it to them. I return it. Now here's the thing is, as the teacher, especially with districts that they can learn and we want them to be able to make it better, as the student, when I get that back, okay, I see here's the comments. They can go in as the students, especially wanting them to work on it. They can go in, they can add more to it. And say we use again, they wanted to put an animated one because they wanted to show what they're going to do. Again, they've saved it. Remember, that's the animated GIF. They've closed it. So it's saving right here. Okay, they're making sure it gets saved. They can resubmit it. So now you could actually create an assignment, a single assignment that you can have them turn in and turn in again and improve upon it, especially from the teacher's point of view, improve upon it. And you can then change the grade, take the grade up, okay, add more comments, and you get that ability to see here it says resubmitted. So now I can give them, okay, well, they got another exercise on. Great, they're up to 30 points. Okay, I return it. It shows what their previous points are. So you're now communicating and you're helping them get better. You're helping them show a better cognitive understanding. Okay. And that's a Word docs or the Google Docs the same way, a workout on a sheet where it does all the formulas. That's fine. That's using it to grade. Okay. So that's grading from within a Google Classroom. All right. So, whoops. Grading from within a Google Classroom. Okay, so now we're going to go on to Schoology. Okay, so for those who are using Schoology and stuff, we're going to go through that, and we're actually going to get to show a couple of cool things with Schoology that's a little different than Google. And again, we're going to go through both sides of it. And so with Schoology, sorry about that. Somebody sent an email, and I want to make sure that I get them part of it. So real quick. All right. So with Schoology, those who have Schoology, we're walking through different things, and I'm going to take you through the basics of creating just a quiz, exactly what I did with Google Forms, but on the Schoology platform. Okay, because again, we're being told by some districts that, you know, everybody's using Schoology, you got to use Schoology. Okay, how do we make it work for us, and how do we make it beneficial? So I have one I've created. I'm going to walk you through creating it. So for those who, you know, are feeling overwhelmed or whatnot, you can see the steps through for using Schoology. So again, on the slides here, I have several of the pictures that show, you know, what we're looking at and how to do it, and the important things that are needed in Schoology. So again, when you get the slides, you have your things to double check to make sure things are going in the right way. So I practiced this with several of my kids over the last couple of days. Reached out to some of our teachers. We have in my building, I have a lot of teacher kids, so it makes it easier to have instant feedback from them. So I'm going to add a test or a quiz. That's where I'm going to start in Schoology, adding a test or a quiz. I'm going to name it Daily Check-In, and again, I'm using Daily Check-In just as my, you know, way to touch base with them, make it due tomorrow. And if I don't have the grading category, I'm going to set the grading category. I've already set mine, so I'm going to put it in Daily Check-In. I'm not worried about the factor. I'm not worried about the scale. It's going to publish to students. I'm going to hit Create. Now, Schoology has similar things to Google Forms in that when you click Add a Question, okay, you have your different question choices here. Now, as you create questions, you can grab questions from your question bank. If you have a test or quiz created, you can use it in other classes. You can assign the same questions or the same quiz exactly to other classes and courses. So while in Google Classroom, it's a click to one, in Schoology, it's kind of the same. Again, you can share the same quiz across to all of them. So first question is going to be a true or false. Did you go outside and play today? Now, my littles, they're not necessarily are working on true or false, but I pose the question as a yes or no. Okay, marking the correct answer is there only this. Now, if you hit subjective question, then it's not going to grade it. Subjective question sees it as something you as the teacher are going to grade. So I wouldn't mess with that. Some districts have put in where you can actually go through and pick the standards that it follows. Okay. Some states have added their standards, okay, depending on where and what state you're using Schoology. Again, that's a good data, that's a good artifact, that's good proof that you are making things that are relevant to our profession. Unfortunately, in Colorado, you go under academic standards, it's hard to find, but that's where it was, is under academic standards. Here are the 2018, I can even go through and pick, this is first grade, I can pick what standard I want this to aligns with. So identifies bodies normal, good. And strong muscles, faster, harder. I've now added a learning objective. Okay, Schoology, that's one of the differences between Google Classroom as an LMS and Schoology. Google Classroom is still looking at adding stuff like that. Schoology has gone through the states and have done that. There's our data, there's our proof, there's our alignment, there's the reason we're an educator and not an activity instructor. In that one little choice we made right there. Okay, so we can prove beyond a doubt that what we're asking is relevant. Now I'm, with a question like that for little kids, but the fact that we can align that creates that question. Okay, I'm going to add another question. Multiple choice. Okay, I want to do the same thing that I did with the exercises. So how many can you do in 30 seconds? Now what I'm going to do, again, up here you have your toolbar, which allows you to center and pick the size of your font and do all of that. Okay. In Schoology, it's a little different than others. So insert content. Again, you can add stuff from Google Resources, from YouTube, from anything that your district has set up. You click just image and media. It allows you to attach a file. Again, I'm grabbing one of the animated GIFs. Again, working on keeping it smaller. It's going to load it up. Okay, now this one goes really fast when you're the only data coming from your computer. My network is having several different things push out to the internet right now, so these times are going to be a little slower. But it's added that to the question. Okay, now below that, I also want to add the timer. Again, adding a timer means that they can follow along. So choice, 20 to 30, 30 to 40, 40 to 50. I only want to give them those three choices. Remove the blank one. Okay, correct answer can be any one of those. All right, grade, align, state, Colorado, academic, physical education, first grade, movement competency, understanding, okay, demonstrate, okay, all sorts of different, okay, you've got all sorts of different things. You can pick multiple ones and have them put it, okay, create the question. This is now what the question looks like. I like these two questions. That's all I need to know from them today. So I'm going to go into settings and submissions right here. I'm going to enable. If I do not enable them, they can see that there's a quiz or a test set up, but they cannot access it. So you need to make sure you mark enable. Okay, if you only want them to do it, you can set enable from different times. If you are setting everything up on Monday and you have 4 days worth of check-ins, you set them up, but you only want it to be opened for that 12-hour or 24-hour period of that day, enable from when to when. That allows you to set those so now your students have to log in during that time. Again, that's one way to hold them accountable, one way to help to make sure they're doing stuff on time, and one way to keep a structure. If your kids are at home and they know that I have PE from 8 to 8:40, well, they have to log in from 8 to 8:40. Is that reasonable? For some kids, sure, that's fine. For others, again, they may not be able to use technology with their parents or anything till the afternoon. So, that's up to you. I just like enabling it. You save the changes at the bottom. Okay, you make sure your changes are saved. It says the bar at the top. Okay, and if I look at my materials, there's day check-in 2. So that's everything from the teacher side. Now I'm going to use one of my tablets, and you're going to see it from the kids' side. So I know most of my kids have a tablet. So this is, one of my tablets. They have the Schoology app installed. Our district pushes it out. Most of the parents have downloaded and installed the Schoology app. Okay. So the Schoology app is the S right there. It pops up. This is a student. Okay. This is one of my students. You can see he's a first grader. There's his teacher's class in the upper corner. Right there in the middle is the PE class. You can look through and they're in all sorts of other things. Okay. But this is my class. Okay. They look, both assignments are there. Okay. So I'm going to do daily 2 check-in. It now gives me the option. Okay. I'm starting my new attempt. This is my attempt at taking this test, this quiz. Okay. First question. Did I go outside and play today? Yes. Okay. You click it, it fills in. Now, again, you can format that to look different ways. Second question, how many of these can you do in 30 seconds? As I scroll, okay, there it is. Now, most kids will wait till it goes to 30. So now I can wait and not start. Now, some of us may use a 40-second GIF, so then they have 10 seconds to get ready. So I'm doing it. Now, here's the thing. If they answer right now and hit submit and 30 seconds hasn't passed, you know that they didn't do the whole time. Okay? Because it waits how long that they do. So I did 30 of them. And I hit submit. Do I want to submit this? Yes. Okay? That's all they've done. That's all they need to see right now. Now, we jump back to the teacher view. Okay? And I look at the grade book. Mr. Will Moranville got 50% or got 50 points out of it. Okay. So I can see he got 1 of 2 questions right. Now that allows me to see what did he not get right. Because I can go to the results and I can see view attempt. And I can actually then look to see, let's see, view by question. Okay, true, false. And the more, again, the type of question, the 1 point, that question was as a multiple select. That's what I picked. So I can change that to them. Again, figuring out each way that each question works allows me to make sure I'm giving those the points. So if I go into the questions and I update that question, okay, to look at that's what I wanted to look for, or ran, you go through your settings it will then update the grade book for his points out of that he got. Okay. And again, grading's everything there. Everything's built into the grade book. It took care of it. No problem. Now, he's the only one that's done it. All these other kids haven't done it yet. Okay. So it allows us to use it back and forth. So using Schoology, again, as our questions, that allows that daily check-in that shows how it gets graded and goes to the grade book. Okay, grade setup. Okay, it allows you those things. Same thing, if you want to add an assignment that is like our development one where they had to do the workout, you can fill out the same thing and you can add a file as your example. Again, set your due dates, new category, workouts, okay, align. Yep, we're going to go to the state, Colorado, academic, physical education, okay. And now again, I've created an assignment that as a student, when they look at it, okay, so if we, let me make sure I bring it up as a student. It popped up and says, okay, there's the self-workout. View attachments. It's going to download it so I can see. Okay. So now I have the ability to add different things and do that within it. Again, for the little kids, that's going to be a little much. Okay. But for your older kids, being able to give them that and have them use it under my submissions, I can press the plus. I can even add a video. I can create a submission. I can record audio. Okay. It allows me to type, and I can type in my 6, workouts, or I can submit a video. Okay. Which means I could take one, my video doing the 6 workouts. I can take pictures. I can just have myself take the picture of myself doing each of my 6 workouts, and I can put it in. Okay. So then I have added that media to that submission. So this is another way on that student proof. This provides the ability for me to turn it in. So it is, submissions are there. Okay, it says I've submitted it on time. Now, on the teacher, right here, it shows me that somebody submitted it on time and that I need to look at it. So even if I were to have logged out and logged in and whatever, it shows me right here that I can see. So I can click on his submission. And there's the submission of his workout. So now I've done that. I can grade it, 50, comment, show it to student, submit. I've now graded that assignment. It's been graded. It's in the grade book. Okay, as the student, if the student's on the computer, this is how the student sees it on the computer. Okay, they can look at their grades. They can see that things have been turned in. So that's the going through of the data, and they can see their results. They can see their workout. They can add to it again. And so I saw what I added, what I created. All right, if they had more than one submission, there you go. So the students have just as much the ability to do those things. Okay, going through each thing individually, that's what it is. All right. So that is the Schoology side, okay, of the submissions, of the grading, of the reason, of how to do the data, and the Google Classroom side of how to do that information. Okay, so we've got both of those. Let me make sure I bring up the other. Oops, sorry. And so you've got the Google Classroom. Sorry about that. Took a little longer. And you've got the Schoology layouts. Okay. For those. Now, going over both of those, there was a question that popped up, and it says, in Google Classroom, how can you start a new quarter in the gradebook? You do that by just creating a new class. That's exactly what it is. If you're on a rotation of quarters or semesters, you just create a new class. So here you would go to plus and you would create the new class. When I do that, especially when I was teaching high school, I always made sure in the class name, I always added what semester it was. And even to the point, because you can archive and use stuff later, I would use the year, because when you do that, you fill everything out, you can go back, and even if it's been archived, you can go back and you can pick reuse post from there. In Schoology, Schoology comes from the school districts. So up here at this little book, they create all the sections and lay everything out. Okay. They also create the grade levels. So your grades can, you have to figure out what their naming structure is to see where things are. Now, in Schoology, I really liked this check-in too. I want to use it in my other classes. The gearbox right here, you go copy to course. So this is two. You've already created it once. You need to use it again. Copy to course. And I want to copy it to all of these courses. And I will set, not that it allows you to expand, but I can set the category it goes into, the due date, and I can assign it to all of these courses and have it go into each place of each of those courses. And it will then copy it to all of those. So if I change to another section, there's the day 2 check-in. I go to another section, there's the day 2 check-in. So on Schoology, you can copy just as you can in Google Classroom. Okay, so there's where you can adjust things. So again, we only have to make one version of stuff if you are teaching the same content across multiple classes. Again, we're working on keeping it simple. We're working on making it so the students can do it, making it so it's, where it needs to be. If you're using one of the LMSs, you want to make sure you're keeping up with what everybody else is doing within the building. Now, are there going to be some teachers that are doing more? Yes, that happens. So if we look at my little kids here, his first grade teachers, she's already set up the materials in, well, she set the folders up. So that's a start. She's organized her folders. I wasn't entirely sure if she had anything yet. So looks like in social studies, she's added and they're learning. So looks like they have links to follow. So they have them watching a YouTube video. Okay. So they're having them, that's a start. That's what she's using. Okay, they are working on their stuff for the next couple of days. So that's how they are using for a start of what they're doing. So again, everybody across contents are trying different things. All right, so we want to make sure that this is something that can be helpful to you. Okay. We've got it figured out. We've got some things now. I want to take, questions. Somebody needs to see something on these two things before we move on to talking about the reasons and why. I want to make sure that I give people the option to ask any questions or to see anything. So if you have any questions, go ahead and type it in the chat. And we'll go through, we'll spend, I'll see about spending the next 20, 25 minutes if needed. If nobody has any questions, people are digesting, trying things, we can move on. Well, I mean, I'm glad if you don't have questions, because that means you've figured out, you're trying stuff. For those that have been in the last 3 days, these are the only 3 I'm doing. I'm only doing the 3, the Thursday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday ones. So again, if you have questions throughout the next couple of weeks, whatever, you guys email me, let me know. I will reach back to you. If you're like, I need to talk this out, we can always set up, either a Zoom room or Google Hangouts. We can help you out. I mean, I want to make sure that people are feeling confident. So let's jump back to where we are. So again, everything is going to be part of it. So responding to students and parents. As we go through this, non-login, you're usually going to be responding through email, through parent emails and talking with them. That's really one of the only ways to do it. When you're logging, when they are using login, so you're using Google Classroom, or you're using, so in Google Classroom or in Schoology, under your people and stuff, you can email the student if they have access to email. They also give you the ability, I want to say, let's see where they, if they've changed it. I know that there's a setting within Google Classroom, and I will find the differences where you can actually, when you add them, If you're setting up your classroom in Google Classroom, you can actually type the names in, and if it's within your email list or within the domain, you can add them that way. Also, if you're co-teaching or if you share a class with a teacher, so I know some PE classes, they have 2 instructors. Add each other as instructors in your classes. So this helps you, manage stuff. So then you're not having necessarily to manage, 60 kids by yourself. Or if you have somebody who, helps you out as a para. So if you have a para that comes in for kids, or kids have IEP or whatever, you can add their support people as teachers within your classroom. Both Schoology does it too. And you can help each other out that way. You can provide the work that way. You can go through all of that. Okay. So in the classroom settings, you also have the ability to decide, on the stream, only you can post. Same thing on Classroom, hiding the notifications, showing overall grades. Again, Google Classroom has set settings, but they're simple. They are at the bottom. Okay. So in some Google Classrooms, yes, depending on what the setting is, they give the ability to put, and I will look to see where they moved it, to add the Guardian email. So, because that came up, and let's see what if they changed it. Or if they gave it a different link. Okay, so, whoops, let me change to the account I want. And I want to, because they did have it, and again, they make adjustments and change things. Let me make sure we have. So they have changed on the student side. So yeah, so here it says for parents, educator, okay. Let's see. Turn on. Okay, so where it is under the stream here. And I'll, like where I'm looking, I just grabbed the classroom help. I will put those within the files and everything, since that came up as a question in the Hangouts. I'll make sure you guys have access to that. On the gear, oh, come on. So we're on the stream. Okay, and we want to make sure, yeah. My version of the Google Classroom doesn't have that option. I think it has to be turned on overall, but I will show it here. So when you go to settings, you go into the stream and the settings, it should give you Guardian summaries as an option. So if you have the Google Classroom, and that's where your instructions are going to be to turn on the Guardian settings. So yes, so let's see if it's in one of my other ones. Nope. So yeah, so again, those instructions, I will link to them and everything. This is right off of, again, this is right off of Google's Classroom settings, showing where you can turn it on right there, which then allows you to the invite and whatnot under people. It would show email guardians right in the middle. So again, that's something your district has to approve and they turn on for their side. So I would have to go in and turn that setting on so it can be seen. So another way you can interact with students through the non-login style is you can set up the remind. And remember, we talked about, for those who weren't part of it, we talked about Remind on the first day. Remind is an app that can be used from the web. And what it does is it allows you to log in. Let me see. Good. Okay, so it allows you to log in and set up a way to communicate with your parents without giving them your personal email. So if you want to communicate with your parents or your older or students and everything, you can create, this is free, Remind is free. You create the class, you provide the instructions. You know, it does ask about, you know, emailing or messaging. If you're messaging with them younger, you just make sure the parent address. I always make sure I have some sort of access for the parents. So this allows you to be able to text back and forth from your phone through the app or just through your text messages without sharing your personal number out or whatnot. You can also do all your communication from the web. They can get it through email. They can sign up through their device. Again, you don't see, you know, you don't get their name or anything like that, or excuse me, their message. See, I don't, you know, I don't ever get to see anything about them to be able to, you know, communicate with them. I can send them a message. I can send them a note when their parents are. So here, her family member was part of it. So there's the parent. So that means anything that gets sent to them gets sent to the parent as well. So again, I'm not using my own, I'm using my device, but I'm not sending out my personal connection, and everything that gets said is tracked through it. All the messages, any file, all the settings, I mean, everything is there. So Remind is a good way to communicate, and a lot of coaches and sports teams use it without sharing your personal information. Okay. And then you have your live, you have your Zoom meetings, you have your Google Meets within Schoology. And this is, and the reason I bring this up is because my district just sent out an email and made it very clear that if we wanted to meet or do conferences or anything with our students or their family, we have to use the conference video communication through Schoology. They are not letting us, they do not want us to use Google Hangouts right now or Meets, and they don't want us to use Zoom based on, you know, the feeling that you need an account for Zoom. You don't need an account. You can join the meeting, but then you have to give them the meeting code and all of this. This can just be done right here as part of it. And you can communicate directly with the students or with the students and their parents. And so you can set that time. They can then go in and add it. They can look that there is a conference in that time. So if I want, you know, as a kid, again, here, this is our Will's account. He can go down to the conference. He sees, after he approves it, he sees that there's a conference set up. So I can say, if you know, if I want to do video meetings with them, I can do it this way through Schoology. It helps, again, keeping it all on the platform. Google is using Google Meets. So when you do stuff on a calendar, you do an assignment and using the calendar, it's the exact same thing. So like I did for you guys, if I was setting up another event here, you click add conferences, Hangout, Google Hangout Meets. You click on here, there's all sorts of different ways. They've made it so these meets till July can have like 1,000+ people. The live streams the meeting while it's running. The nice thing here is if you make sure your district has turned it on, when you run the meet, you can actually have it record the meeting so you have proof of the face-to-face interaction. I don't know about Schoology if it records it or whatnot, but if we do this and your district's turned it on, when you open the meeting, and I'm going to make the computer think all different things here. Down here in the bottom, you can record the meeting. Okay, I would highly suggest any type of communication with parents that's video or something, you have some way to record it. Zoom has the same thing. You can save the recordings of everything. This protects you, this protects the parents, this keeps everything on the up and up. Yes, Christy, the Schoology conference can be with more than one student at a time because it pushes out to the whole class. So that whole course has that Schoology conference. So using those record features are vital in keeping us professionally safe, professionally covered. You want to make sure those are there. So yes, because I applied the conference to the whole class, it is in this whole course, Christy. So yeah, I don't know if you can do it with just individual students. I haven't dove that far into it, but I can always, let you know or, find out that information for you. So yeah. Okay, so going through live. The biggest thing, you guys, follow your district policy. If your district doesn't know or doesn't have a district policy, err on the side of caution. Protect yourself, protect our kids. I know a lot of teachers that I've been working with have, they want to sign up, they want to use this, they want to use that, they want to do that. That's great, except when you're having logins being created, unless you're creating quote unquote dummy accounts. So you're creating Superman at, just at gl.org, or Batman at gl.org, or Wolverine at xavierinstitute.gov, whatever, and giving those to the kids. We don't want their personal information out. School districts are working really hard to try to figure this stuff out, trying to make sure they're doing what's best for the kids. Keep it simple, follow what they're doing, follow their guidelines. Do I agree with all of my district guidelines right now with what they're doing? No, but I also know that they're doing the best they can with the resources they have. So I'm working on making sure I follow their guidelines and I stay within it. Social media, unless you have, a Facebook page that you can, you're doing stuff through, is your videos, or an Instagram that's that specifically, I would be real hesitant about doing any, video messaging, because again, that's social media. Most districts have a social media clause within your expectations and how to not communicate or reach out through students through that. Again, if you're doing your live videos that way and just sending them out, that's fine. I don't see any problem with that. I have kids that follow the PE Facebook page because that's where they get to see them and they can share with their families. But again, when I do that, I follow the media guidelines. So I have some classes that there are too many kids that aren't supposed to, that have turned in waivers to not be pictured or videoed. So I don't do that for those classes. One email I did get that was a good email, good question, was how to handle phone calls, because I really don't think schools are thinking about giving every teacher their own ability to contact parents or touch base with parents, or if they're setting up a room at the building where it's a germ-free room or clean room where you can go in and make phone calls. Now some people are going to be, you know what, I'll use my personal phone, no big deal. Others like, I don't want to use my personal device. That's something, talk with your district, find out what they're doing, what their expectations are. One answer that I did give as a workaround is go get a $30 prepaid, phone from Walmart or Target or Best Buy, and have that be your classroom phone. Now you have a phone number you can give out. It's only making calls to the parents. It allows that to do that. That would be one way around the situation. I don't like using my personal device for work-related stuff. I understand these are extraordinary times. However, things I can do to keep my work and my personal life separate helps quite a bit. And finally, on the bottom of that, keep a recording of every communication. If you send an email, we have drafts. It goes into the send. If you're unsure about stuff, take screenshots of it. Keep track of everything, because that's going to help if something ever comes up, or it shows that, okay, this is where we ran into issues if school districts have to try to adjust to this again. So for some people, setting up a Google phone number, I know that through Google Hangouts and stuff, you can actually create a Hangout phone number, or through Google Voice. So it's a voice over IP phone. That would be the same thing as setting up a prepaid phone. I don't see any problem with that, because you're giving them a phone number that is only going to one place. It's not, going to you directly. And once it's done and said with, everything's done, you can shut that number down. Just like a prepaid phone, I can shut that down. Yes, and it's free. So the question came up about Google Voice, and let me pull it up here. That's why I use Remind, because Remind is free and it goes through that stuff as well. And I just, so I'm not talking about it, but talking with them. But using a Google Voice, you can set up a Google Voice number and you can attach it so you get stuff back and forth. You can choose your number based on where you are. Okay, there's no, really it doesn't matter, because they're going to be, so then see, I can pick a number. Well, okay, I'm going to pick that number. So I've selected that. I open my existing phone. I can go through, and now it's making this a second line. So through the Google Voice app, this number, if you called that number, would ring through my phone if I continue through the steps. So that can be a way to do that as well. Again, when we can keep things separated, it's so much better for us. It not only peace of mind, but keeps us protected. Finally, the value, I really think that you guys all understand the value of what we're doing, and the value of our profession, and unfortunately, schools are not worried so much about the electives. They're not worried about making sure we're getting stuff taken care of, because they're seeing the classrooms, they're seeing the other things. We don't fit onto those lists right now. And it's not, good, bad, right, wrong, or anything. It's our reality. We've dealt with it with trainings throughout our districts. We've done it with the trainings throughout the state. We deal with it with funding. We deal with it with MCUs when we're talking about classroom sizes. We chose this. We understand that that's part of it. We also know that we have to continue to keep our documentation for everything. We have to keep professional track anytime we can provide it. It shows that we're giving and we're attempting to provide the best example and the highest quality physical education, health education, music education, whatever, for our students. Because all of you guys know we have to continually go through this. We're continually, you know, standing up for our content. We're continually on the front lines pushing, saying, now, do I think that there's going to be a greater shift in this? Potentially, because people are doing homeschooling and they're spending 8 hours a day doing activity with breaks for book work and math work and reading and writing and all that stuff. That'd be great if our normal days were like that. But unfortunately, you know, we're not like that, and that's what they're trying to change. And we've been trying to change it for years. Academically, it's important that we keep our kids learning. Just because they're home and they're doing stuff out there, that doesn't matter. You know, if we can give them the value of, you know, okay, you guys, did you work out today? No, you spent 8 hours playing video games. Okay, I spend some days doing that too. Is it necessarily the best thing for my health? No. How can I make those changes? Oh, well, this is what we can do. Great. Because they only get the one body and they only get the one life, and we want to make sure that we're doing it. Our content goes through their entire life. I mean, it's what it is. So we want to make sure that we're always giving them those, even asking, you know, what did you do today? How did you do this? What is your heart doing? You know, what did you eat nutrition wise? All of a sudden you get an answer. A kid said, I had Lucky Charms 4 times today. Now, is that something they have control over? Or is it something that they don't have control over? You know, can you talk with your parents about nutrition? You know, what does physical activity look like to you guys? What sports do your parents play? You know, what things? All of a sudden, we have the ability to affect an entire family through what we're asking, through our academic focus. We can affect the lives, the activities, the health of an entire family. You have a 4-year-old who can't sit still, you know, like my puppy who we're on our 4th walk each day and he's going, yeah, I'm done walking. It's like, but you know, I have to keep him moving. Otherwise he terrorizes the house. Kid, I wants to go outside and play. Eventually the parents are going to have to do something. They're going to have to figure it out. And so we're helping society stay active. So that's the end of the workshop. That's going through everything. Questions, comments, concerns, wonders, worries, anything anybody has. There's the emails up on the screen. You can contact me, share this with everybody, go through anything, let me know. I mean, I will keep going for the next 15, 20 minutes. If people want to ask questions, want to see something, want me to look at something they've created and bring it up as a link on the screen, let me know. And for those who are thinking in either the chats, type in one thing that you know, you think you can learn, you think you can use starting next week. You know, that's always what I hope for, is I hope everybody has one thing. So, you know, put it in the chat and share out what is something you can use, or you're going to use, or you're going to try next week. And Angela, you can email that to me and I'll pull it up on the screen. Good. We got some people doing Google Classroom stuff. Email set up. Yeah, no problem. Happy to help. Quizizz and Schoology is daily check-in. That's great, especially now you see how it can get graded and how it can go through that. No, stop. That is not what I wanted to open, but okay. Hey, look at that. There's our principal doing something. Anything else? I really like seeing that, there are things working. Yeah, Angela, let me copy that over, just so I can bring it up on the full screen here. It'll take me a second. Again, and you guys, send this stuff to, people other teachers. Send them to, your other content specialists. I know that my art and music teacher have been watching them later. So send them, send them. Share it out. It's one of those things that people have to. Some people just need to go back and review it as they can. A check-in through Google Classroom, that's awesome. All right, so Angela, yes, here is your PE quiz. So let's go through. Potentially with the period, you could just have them select the answer. Example or muscle endurance. Yep. Okay. Okay. Now, what grade level is this for, Angela? Okay, so middle school. For those that are watching the screen, this is a middle school example. So far, looking awesome. Yeah. Okay. So this is a final. It goes through. Yeah. That's using a great way to use your camera and the things you have, to get them the information they need. That's great as a picture. Yes, and as long as they know how to match through. So I'm just gonna rip through these so you have. So here with the picture here, this would be a really great place for potentially an animated GIF as well, because not knowing what you guys are going through, what muscle are you looking for? That would be what I would change just on that, but really good example of using two parts to make the question, and then having that, and so what you could do here as well is if you go look at the picture, pictures below, or whatever, here, because then with this question under the legs, so this one right here, without anything as the question title, not knowing exactly if I'm going to look at the spreadsheet, what that's for, knowing, looking on the data side as a thought. But yeah, good use of different types. And yeah, I mean, it's taking, a handful of minutes to go through it, but that's good. And it's definitely a cognitive, yep, you have the sports broken up. It's a really great thing, especially if this is an end of the unit type of thing. Yep, you cover in each of the sports. And then there's your effective. And there you go. Yeah, I mean, that's a school final. That's a great final, great cognitive final. So, yeah. Anybody else? So I answered through it, and so if you go back and watch the first part of the video, Angela, we talk about Flubaroo and everything. So once the video gets posted, you're going to want to, here, I'll even jump back. You're going to want to go in and watch the section where we talk about Flubaroo. And then it'll solve all of that. Flubaroo will take all of those questions and grade it really, really quick. So yeah, you'll want to watch this part. All right, anyone else in the Zoom or in Google Hangouts? We got about 5 more minutes. If anybody's got any questions. Again, I hope that, today was easier to digest, knowing that we went through the stuff yesterday and the day before we kind of built through. We kind of started broad and then narrowed down the scope. And I hope that helps people get through stuff. And so, yeah. And again, if it's something where you want to touch base, you want to do a screen share, you want to talk back and forth, let me know, send me an email, drop me a line. We can set up a meeting that way. I will look at, I will look at doing some more workshops. I'll see what we can do. What I may do is I may send out a survey or whatever to everybody who went to the 3 and ask, do people need very specific stuff, and do, more on specifics as an option, since we will probably all be in this setup for the foreseeable future. But then we can get into doing more in-depth things, how to take those and create, and how to actually make very specific stuff, and how to improve the grading, or how to use different applications, because even not even touching on Coach's Eye, or any of those things, the remote videoing, or how to speed up. So you're looking at a half-hour workout, and it's time lapse, so you see it in 10 12 seconds. There's so much technology, tools, and options. If we get to the point where people want to do, there's something called a voice thread, and what it is, it's a collaborative presentation, like slides or PowerPoint or a Prezi, but kids can add their own things in from different places, and then it plays through as a video. So there's all sorts of things to do, but we just wanted to start with simple right now. Any other questions? And yeah, if you guys don't have any other questions or concerns, wonders, or worries, feel free to, check out of the meeting, and I'll make sure that I post to YouTube, and those links will go up. And I'm still working on the other videos, putting all the links in. For those who want to share or whatnot when you do videos, if you're on YouTube, and again, this is just because I'm thinking of ways to help each other out, especially if, say, you're using a workout that's like 40 minutes long, and you don't need it to be 30, 40 minutes long. You can actually, this is a cool trick that you can do. So if I know his workout, we're going to start here at the 14-minute mark. If you actually pause it, if you right click where you put it, you can copy the URL at the current time. And then when you share that URL or you post it as your link, it actually starts the video right there. Okay, so it starts the video right where you time marked it. So here it started that video right there. So you could use one video, but break it down into multiple parts instead of having them use the whole video. Okay, same thing, within a Google form. When you add, let me scroll all the way to the bottom, and you add a video, you can use the URL and it will start with that link. If I press play, it should start. It started right where I marked it. So it started right at the 14-minute mark instead of starting it at the beginning. So a little YouTube trick. Lindsay, when do I think I'll be back in school here in the US? I really honestly don't think we will back to be in building instruction probably for the rest of the school year. We are looking at an April 17th so far, but the state of Colorado has not come out and done anything thus far about pushing anything back. They're waiting on some guidelines from the federal government. And so where I am, there's actually 12 school districts, and they are all kind of working together. All the superintendents are meeting together to decide what they're going to do. So then our entire area of the Colorado Springs, Pike Peak region is on the same wavelength, the same path. So I don't know if we'll get back into in-building instruction this school year. All right. It is 3 o'clock. And so if nobody has any other questions, concerns, wonders, or worries, and we can go ahead and end the meeting so I can get the records and the streams up. Yeah, Lindsay, I was talking with some of my friends and colleagues in Quebec, and they were saying that's about the same thing, not knowing what they're going to do, because they haven't made that decision yet. But it's something that this is a great time to talk about all those health things that we have to cover as part of PE. All that health content and taking care of ourselves. It's a great time to do that. So we'll see how this goes. All right. Well, again, I appreciate everybody who logged in to watch, and I will get the videos posted to YouTube shortly. Well, probably take about an hour and a half. They've got to process, and hopefully we get some good things, and hopefully people are ahead of where they feel they needed to be and don't feel as overwhelmed. So thank you for tuning in, and everybody have a great weekend. Yep, you are welcome. So people in Google Hangouts, I am going to hang up the meeting. And on Zoom, I am ending the meeting. So thank you for those on Zoom who tuned in. And again, hope you got something.